Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs of society. Welcome, all you rock dwellers out there. Welcome to your home, the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada, and that's my very dear and good friend, Sharron Engel. Sharron, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Thank you, Rick. It's always a pleasure for me to be here and to talk with our guests. They're always wonderful. And also to interact with our audience. You know, I feel like there's a lot of folks out there that really do get firsthand information from Conservative Commandos radio show. I was talking with a friend of mine and talking about one of our guests that was with us few weeks ago, Sargis Sangari, who was talking about why Trump didn't retaliate against the shooting down of the drone. And he was surprised when I told him, well, here's the real scoop, according to our guest. So I'll just tease with that you can go to our website and take a look at that. It's archived there on our website. And look up Sargis and Gary if you really want to know what happened there and why actually things are better since Trump just said, we're not going to get into this.
All right. So what is on your radar screen today, my friend?
Well, I think it's funny that you say radar because I picked up a little story, about Nevada. You know, I used to live in Tonopah, Nevada, which is just a little north of the TTR, Tonopah Test Range, or the big test site that's there in the middle of Nevada. Quite a few acres of public land have been dedicated by the military for training. And it's an interesting facility because at one edge on private land, but behind the mountain, is a place called Yucca Mountain. And that's, of course, where they want to make the facility to store radioactive materials that shouldn't be stored in our ocean waters and shouldn't be stored any place but a very secure facility. And the only entrance to Yucca Mountain, of course, is through the test site. On the other side, on the east side, is a place called Rachel. And at Rachel, there's a little restaurant called the Ailey Inn. Now, they boast that there have been sightings of blues and grays, and they've been up on those mountains looking down into the test site. And there's just funny goings on there with the aliens that have been captured by the Air Force. So the Air Force, because these civilians were coming up on the mountains and peering over into the test site, they decided that wasn't a really good thing. So they moved the boundaries so that they couldn't get up on the mountain anymore. But today, as of Wednesday morning, that's today, over 1.5 million people said they were attending an event called Storm Area 51. That's what the most top secret part of the test range is called, Area 51. They can't stop all of us, says the Facebook thing. And the event is scheduled for September 20th at 3 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And about 1.1 million Facebook users indicated they were interested. So, you know, this will be interesting to see how many of those, Rachel, Nevada isn't a really easy place to find. It's quite small out there in the middle of Nevada. It's not like you can fly in. You have to fly into Las Vegas, and then it's quite a trek up, probably a 5 or 6 hour journey into the desert to find Rachel. So those blue and gray hunters are going to have an interesting time just finding where they're supposed to be. I can't imagine what would happen to Rachel with 1.1 million people in it.
Sharron, educate me. What do you mean by blues and grays? I'm not familiar with that term.
Oh, sorry. I can tell you're just not an alien follower. Well,
no.
Well, there's
I have enough trouble with the illegal aliens, but
well, as it is my understanding that there are two types of aliens. There are blues and grays, and the blues are invisible, so I don't know how they're blue, but anyway, and the grays. When I was serving in the legislature, there was a fellow named Merlin who would come in and testify, and he would bring his two wives with him. One of them was a blue, and her name was Merlina. And every once in a while, he'd say to her something, and then he would say, "And Merlina wants to tell you." And he would come in and give testimony on different bills, and it was just, I guess,
well, first of all, that he had two wives. That's one thing. The other, you couldn't really see the blue wife.
Yeah, so bigamy was
wonder.
Difficult to prove in that case, right? It was just to say so.
Sharron, I got to be honest with you. I have to question the thought of the Nevada, right? I got it right. The Nevada state legislature. It's not Nevada, it's Nevada. But of the Nevada state legislature to let a guy testify who has two wives and both of them come with, and one you can't see because she's a blue.
Well, yeah, and I'm not surprised, but here's the deal. Our legislature, especially on our side of the House, remember I was in the Assembly, and I was in the minority party all 4 terms that I served, which meant that I served on committees that were chaired by Democrats. And the chairman is the one who gets to decide who does the testifying, who's allowed to be in the committee rooms. And he can also use his jurisdiction, I guess, as a way to hold people in contempt. What you give there is testimony that's equal to that testimony that would be given in a court of law. So that a Democrat allowed this is not, shouldn't be too surprising. I mean, we just shook our heads and say, well, it comes with the territory, and I think that territory is still fairly open to that side of the aisle if they are interested, and they seem to be grasping for votes. As you pointed out, you're interested in the illegal alien population.
Right,
These guys would certainly be classified, blues and grays would be classified as illegal aliens, and maybe they think there's a voting populace there.
Oh,
they're
nice
to them.
What a can of worms. Sharron, I have a question about the 1.3 million Facebook users who said they're going to participate in this. I wonder what the breakdown is as far as of these 1.3 million, as far as conservatives, liberals, and nuts. Okay. Because maybe this is a really good idea. We get 1.3 million liberals and nuts, and maybe a few conservatives in there, very possibly. But let's abduct them all and put them on an alien spacecraft and ship them off, ship them out of here. I mean, that would be great.
Well, now you're starting to begin to sound like the chairman of our committee, so be careful there. Be careful. But I thought a few statistics might be in order here. There's 2.9 million acres of land spanning 5,000 square miles of airspace that cover that test site. So we're talking about a really, really large area, and it's unknown how many of the 1.5 million attendees will actually travel to the remote location in Nevada for the event, as the page has sparked internet memes poking fun at the idea of storming the Air Force range for the opportunity to see aliens. And it's just like us, we're kind of poking fun too, but it makes you wonder. It really does make you wonder what this Facebook thing is all about sometimes, when these kinds of things are out there and attract folks taking them very seriously. You wonder.
Yes, you do.
You wonder if people will start traveling into the desert. It's,
Well, Sharron, what is the name of the cafe or the restaurant?
Ailey Inn.
Ailey Inn. They're going to have a really big day. I mean,
well, when I was running for when I was running for Congress, I mean not Congress, but against Harry Reid, we actually went to Searchlight, his hometown, for a Tea Party event. Now, Searchlight is bigger than Rachel. Rachel, I think, has probably 100 residents. And Searchlight is a little larger, maybe 1,000. Anyway, 30,000 people showed up there.
Wow.
And we blocked traffic for 6 miles on every side of that little town. I mean, it was walking. It was just a sea of cars and people trying to attend that event. So I just can't imagine little Rachel with 1.5 million when 30,000 just pretty much put Searchlight down.
Maybe we can buy stock in the Alien just for that one day. We'll make a fortune. Well, Sharron, we do need to take a break, and you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, and she's Sharron Engel. And on the other side, we'll tell you who our guests are for today. As usual, a great lineup and topics for conversation. But today's show, like all our shows, guess what? Brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Sharron and I will be right back after this.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with myself, Rick Trader, and my co-host, Sharron Engel. And listen, the hallmark of the Conservative Commandos is our guest. We think we have the best guests that are out there, bar none, on TV and on radio. So if you'd like to be a guest here, send an email to me. All right, I was going to say give me a call, but let's just keep it to emails. Send me an email, and it's easy. It's long, but it's easy. It's rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. As I said, it's long but easy. rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Or if you want to recommend a guest, please shoot an email to me. Well, Sharron, I get my education here. I know I tell you that all the time. I get my education from my co-hosts and my guests, and now I know what the blues and grays are. But Sharron, we're going to continue that education process of Rick Trader. We've got 3 great guests joining us today.
We do. Our first guest is Major General Mari Eder. She's a U.S. Army retired and is a former Army Deputy Chief of Public Affairs. She also served as Director of Public Affairs at the George C. Marshall European Center for Security Studies and as an adjunct professor and lecturer in communications and public diplomacy at the NATO School and Sweden's International Training Command. She currently serves as board secretary and trustee with the U.S. Army College Foundation, and this year she authored the foreword to the college's new communications campaign planning primer. In addition to numerous military awards and recognitions, she's received the Vatican Award of the Knight Grand Cross of the Order of St. Gregory the Great from Pope Benedict the 16th. Major General Eder is the author of Leading the Narrative, The Case for Strategic Communication. And we've asked her to come on and talk about the census, veterans, and the value of citizenship. That's been quite controversial. And in fact, I think you and I even discussed that maybe we as conservatives shouldn't take the census if they're not going to count everyone and tell us what their citizenship is. Maybe it's bogus from the beginning and we shouldn't waste our time with it. Our second guest is Tracy Beanz, who is an investigative journalist who places a strong focus on politics. While writing for Undercover DC, she has brought the intricate detail of several major stories to light, including corruption between Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Andrew McCabe, who threatened the New York office of the FBI during the Clinton email investigation. Tracy was one of the first journalists to conduct an hour-long face-to-face interview with George and Simona Papadopoulos the day after his release from prison, and is known for her unbiased, in-depth coverage of the spying scandal surrounding the candidacy of President Donald Trump and beyond. And we've asked Tracy Beanz to talk to us about her article, A Guide to the Epstein Case. This is really not a written article, but an article that you can listen to where she does the in-depth study of what really is going on in the Jeffrey Epstein case. And finally, our last guest is Elad Hakim, who is a political writer and commentary and attorney. His articles have been published in the Washington Examiner, the Daily Caller, the Federalist, the Allgemeiner, the Western Journal, American Thinker, and other online publications. We've asked Hakim to talk about Pelosi's advice regarding ICE warrants was appropriate, unbecoming of her position. So we'll get into it in some depth about what's going on with the Democrat attack, I think, on ICE. They have certainly set themselves up to be opponents to our officials.
Indeed they have. And it's not just been a verbal attack. We reported about on a show earlier this week a guy actually perpetrated a physical attack attack on an ICE detention center in Tacoma, Washington, using fire bombs, and he was armed with a rifle, and they shot and killed this individual. By the way, he was a supporter of Antifa, and another nut job, Sharron Engel. Well, Sharron, if you didn't want to hear about my day spreading mulch in 95-degree weather with the dew point about 75%, if you didn't want to hear about that, what else have you got for us? What else is on your radar screen?
Well, I'm once again going to give our president a real round of applause, if you will. He has just had his 43rd Circuit Court nominee confirmed on Tuesday. And this is Judge Peter Phipps. But I think the most outstanding part of this is this is 43. And his predecessor, Mr. Obama, only saw 19 federal appeals court judges appointed during that same period of time. So he's far outpaced it. He has appointed a total of 128 federal judges, including 2 to the Supreme Court, and 43 to federal circuit courts, and 83 judges to district courts, and then 2 Supreme Courts. So he really is changing the direction of the court with his appointees, and it's about time. And I think that we are seeing a real move now within the whole country towards some repealing of some things that have long been overdue. And I'm for certain happy to see these moves coming from our side to repeal Roe v. Wade, or at least make it null and void. And we have a little town in Texas, and it's called Minerals Wells, Texas, and they are declaring their city a sanctuary city for the unborn. Nice. But the ACLU wrote a letter to the city council saying that targeting abortion providers for performing important constitutional work implicates other rights.
Important constitutional. Oh, let's
Murder
kill a
is
few
now
babies.
Important. Yeah.
Let's kill a few million babies. That's important constitutional work. Unreal.
That's right. So it's long overdue that we have this battle in the courts and determine it once for all that the Declaration of Independence actually says that we have the right to life. So
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That's right. And that isn't determined by where you live. So if you happen to be living inside your mother still, that shouldn't determine that your rights are null and void just because you're living in a different place. We need to be really, really careful when we talk about these kinds of circumstances, because you and I may be living in the wrong place at some time, and then we don't have our constitutional rights either.
Well, they're being eroded by a lot of state legislatures, places like California, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland. We have to be very, very careful. Well, Sharron, we are going to take a break and get our first guest on, but you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Major General Mari Etter. She's U.S. Army retired. She's got a great article out in the USA Today, The Census, Veterans, and the Value of Citizenship. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our first guest.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And once again, thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Engel. And once again, if you know someone you'd like us to interview here on Conservative Commandos, please send an email to me at rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. I know it's long, but it's easy. rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Always looking for great guests. And Sharron, we've been trying to reach Major General Maury Etter. She's written a terrific article here. But, this isn't planned, this isn't contrived. Well, we do plan, but occasionally things fall through the cracks. We're unable to reach her, but she's written a great article. The Census, Veterans and the Value of Citizenship. And Sharron, you and I have talked before about this census, the idea of that certain questions, one of the questions being that I think it should be on the census, is about citizens. Are you a citizen? Very important. I don't know of any other country in the world that counts as citizens people who aren't citizens, or counts in their population people who aren't citizens. It's crazy. It makes no sense.
Well, it doesn't, and especially when they're answering questions on the census that are related to this one. It's almost natural, as Maury kind of pointed out in her article. It's natural if they're going to ask people about their family, about their income. These are private matters. Then why not? Are you a citizen? And as she also pointed out that when we ask them about their race, their age, their ancestry, their gender, their household relationship, they're usually very proud if they have been naturalized to tell you that, yes, I am a citizen. It was the best choice I've made in my life. And so she says that this is really an interesting thought process, that the Democrats don't want them to answer this question. And I guess the question then is, why not? Why not?
Well, the census is not some sort of unofficial poll, Sharon. I think there's reasons that we have a census. For one thing, congressional distribution. another thing, where are our tax dollars being spent and what are they being spent on? It's not an unofficial poll. It has teeth. It has meaning. And to not get the correct information, why have it then? Why have a census? All right. Why do we have to have an accurate number of people? What's it for? If it isn't going to be accurate, and in the census also has integrity, there's no sense having it. There's no sense to the census, Sharron.
Well, there is a sense to this census. If they don't ask for citizenship, all the Democrats really want to do is increase the numbers of Democrat voters, and that's the real premise of this. They know that people just upon entering the country aren't really that familiar yet with our system of government. They aren't really familiar yet with freedom. They really don't understand the free market and capitalism, and they don't understand the American dream yet. And so they are thinking about what they came from, and the Democrats sound familiar, so a lot of them do register as Democrats. And that's what the Democrats are counting on. They don't want them to tell yes or no, because it still is illegal for a non-citizen to vote in this country. And I don't care if they're voting in California, a sanctuary state, or in Texas, a non-sanctuary state. It's still illegal for a non-citizen to vote, even if they're not here illegally. It's still illegal. I have a friend who is a great little small businessman. He told me in 2010, he said, "Oh, Sharron, I'm so excited. I get to vote for you this time." And I said, "Well, that's wonderful, John. When did you get naturalized?" And he said, "What?" And I said, "Well, when did you get your citizenship?" And he said, "Well, I didn't get it." And I said, "Well, then why do you think you're going to be able to vote?" And he said, "Well, that's what they told me at the DMV when I got my registration renewed." So here he is, a legal alien. He's a green card bearer. He's wanting to be a citizen, but he's not yet attained that. And he was so excited because they were telling him, "Go ahead and register to vote." So, you know, we have it is an underlying agenda that is carried out by bureaucrats. You know, I'm not saying that everyone at the DMV is giving that same advice, but I am saying that, you know, if their agenda is moving through their job, we are seeing that in misinformation that's being given to people who are non-citizens. And if they do vote, it is still illegal, even if they have a green card. If they are hauled in front of the court for voting illegally, they will be deported. There is a great risk. And so, you know, it's really disingenuous, to say the least, for Democrats to put people in at risk, really put them at risk of being deported because they are misunderstanding what the law says. Right. And not because they're here illegally, but just because they're misunderstanding. So I do know why they are underlying wanting them not to ask that question, because, of course, if they answer that question, then it's easier for us to know who the non-citizens are. It's easier for us to keep our voting rolls clean. It's also easier for us to investigate the underground economy that runs through this population.
Well, Sharron, we've heard this time and time and time again. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. It's probably a very good thing that you talked to your friend John, that if he would have voted, he would have violated the law. As you said, that's grounds for deportation. It might have he could go to jail. He could be fined. I mean, you saved him from a world of potential hurt.
Well, and I think that if we really do claim to be a nation of immigrants and love our immigrants, which we do, Rick. We get painted with a very broad racist brush sometimes. But if we really do care about these folks that are coming and making a difference and contributing to our country, we should be careful that they understand our law and that they don't run afoul of it and get into trouble in places where it's unnecessary. They don't need to be in trouble, especially over something like this.
Yeah, like your friend John was said at DMV, he can now vote. Wow, DMV is giving these people false, misleading information that could really, really have terrible ramifications, legal ramifications. It's unreal. There's some people out there, Sharron, saying that a citizenship question could hurt stores. The 2020 census citizenship question could hurt business decisions on jobs, stores, and even TV. Well, I think when you hear talk like that, Sharron, it's just people on the left trying to justify bad behavior. And again, that bad behavior has one goal for them, one goal and one goal only, and that is to regain control and to have that control forever. The one thing that President Trump hasn't done that I thought he was going to do is make sure that the integrity of our elections is upheld. I know he tried it. He had a commission. That commission was sued several times and they dropped the commission. But that's how these people work on the left, through the courts. Well, we've got to stand up to them. And they're judge shopping. They're court shopping.
Well, I'm glad you used the term we. I am glad, because it is we the people who need to combat this. And, we've interviewed several times on our show the folks from Election Integrity Project California. They're the ones that exposed and documented the voter fraud there in LA County, where a case that they had was so airtight that LA County didn't even contest it. They said, no contest, we'll settle with you. Just tell us what we have to do. 1.9 million illegal fraudulent voters in that county were exposed. And it wasn't a group of attorneys that exposed them. It was people just like you and me, Rick, that said, if it's going to get done, we're going to have to do it. And so they got themselves versed in the law. They took some classes on what the California law said, election law said, and then they went about enforcing it themselves, as far as finding these folks that were duplicate voters, that were dead voters registered still, that were voting across county lines, different things that happened to cause that vote to be fraudulent, impersonating voters. Every election we hear that someone went to vote and their vote had already been cast. So, it's up to us as citizens to join groups like Election Integrity Project of California and become that proactive citizen ourselves in cleaning up the vote.
All right. Well, Sharron, let's take another break. We can pick up this conversation on the other side. But this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and Rick Trader. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be back right after this break.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving, and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Engel. And once again, for rebroadcast of our show, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You can like us, friend us, follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. By the way, we are back on Facebook. We'll see how long that lasts, but for right now, we are back. You know, Sharron, we are discussing this article that was written by Major General Maury K. Etter, U.S. Army retired. The census, veterans, and the value of citizenship. You know, Sharron, one thought that I had on the break, you know, we were talking about we the people have to ensure clean elections because it doesn't seem like our government is. One of the things I wanted to talk with you about is poll watching. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing that we the people can do to help ensure clean and fair and honest elections. You've run a couple of national campaigns for Senate and for House of Representatives. Could you talk a little bit about poll watching, how valuable it is, what poll watchers should be doing? How does somebody become a poll watcher? What should you do if you are a poll watcher and you find something illegal happening or questionable, or even if you go to vote and something unusual is happening? Give us a little bit of information about poll watching and things like that.
Sure. Well, it varies from state to state. State laws are different concerning who can be at the polls and what they can do while they're there and how that watching is to be done. So that's why when you join up with a group like Election Integrity Project California, they're going to say, what are your state laws concerning elections? Because they know that one line of defense is for eyes to be on the process. When people are watching, when it's out in the open, when people know they're being watched, crime goes down. You know, it's just like the lights going off in New York City the other day. They were afraid because there was no light shining there on a possible crime that could be committed in the dark. Well, it's the same way as at the polls. As long as they're anonymous, as long as nobody's watching, they are much more apt to perpetrate that crime. And so just the presence of a poll watcher has a chilling effect on criminal behavior when it comes to fraudulent votes, because it is a felony. That is a national law. That's not up to your state to decide what crime you've committed. It's a national law that it is a felony, and it carries with it different consequences. But still, to have a felony on your record, felony voter fraud, is a thing that most people don't want, and it's not worth the $20 or the gift card to Target or whatever they're paying you in order to impersonate another voter or just vote 2 or 3 times. So that in itself is a real benefit to poll watching. Sadly to say, though, by the time we get to the polls, a lot of the time, the crime has already been committed. It's difficult to stop that crime right there as it's being committed, because it takes you a while to get law enforcement there. How do you detain someone? You know, and those are some of the trainings that people go through with Election Integrity Project California, is how to do exactly that. How, when you have a suspicious act taking place, how do you get law enforcement there, and how do you remove that vote from the process if it's already been cast? And especially with electronic machines, you know, they're just counting that disc, and there's not a paper ballot that you can reach through and say, oh, here's ballot number 758039, we're taking that one out because it's challenged. That's one of the benefits of having a paper ballot, is that you can find those votes and you can challenge those votes. So there is a lot more to it than just poll watching, but poll watching is a big deterrent to fraud if you've got eyes on the process, like I said.
Well, one thing that I wonder, you know, we saw during the Tea Party days back in 2009, individuals coming together in a group to make a difference. I wonder if we need to take this into our own hands, Sharron. And one of the things that I thought is, you know, we have poll watchers inside the poll. What if we had citizens, an army of citizens, standing far enough away from the poll that they're not interfering, but using cameras to take pictures of individuals who are going in to vote. Record the tag numbers of the vehicles that people use to get there. If you see a bus pulling up, 30, 40 people getting out of it, videotape this action happening. And my thinking is, well, as you say, once that vote is cast, it's too late. But if people know there are going to be people watching on the outside, they're not going to risk it, or they may not risk it.
Well, you're exactly right, and that is one of the strategies that's employed by these citizen groups like Election Integrity Project California. They do have citizens on the outside as well as the inside of the poll, and they have folks that are able to communicate between the polls, because what we saw in 2010, for instance, was we had for 14 days 23 early voting places open, and we saw van loads of people going from polling place to polling place casting ballots, and what they were using was your sample ballot. And because here in Nevada we don't have voter ID, and on that sample ballot there is a barcode, it really wasn't necessary for that person to even identify themselves by speaking. They just handed that sample ballot. It was barcode scanned, and the ballot was given to them. So
Wow.
we know that, if you've got 14 days and you've got a van load of 10 going from polling place to polling place 23 times, it starts to add up to real votes and ways that you can actually affect elections. We know that many elections, especially local elections, are won or lost by 1 or 2%, sometimes one or two votes.
Do you remember the governorship of Virginia, Ed Gillespie? He ran for governor and he ran for Senate, and he lost by just a few percentage points. And the tactics that the left used at that time, they ran a third-party candidate, and they called him a Tea Party conservative candidate, which he was not, would siphon just enough votes away from Ed Gillespie to lose those elections. Hey, Sharron, we're going to take a break, and on the other side, we're going to be speaking with the new guest here on Conservative Commandos, Tracy Betts. She's an investigative journalist. She writes for Uncover DC, and Tracy is going to give us a guide to the Epstein case. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be right back with our next guest right after this break.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Hartman, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect. How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right time.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, in the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, now in Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Also, the folks who are watching us on the AUN television network in places like San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, and in Northern California. And with that, Sharron, we do have our next guest with us. Please make her feel welcome.
Well, it's a real honor and a privilege to introduce Tracy Beanz, who is an investigative journalist who places a strong focus on politics. While writing for Undercover DC, she has brought the intricate details of several major stories to light, including corruption between Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Andrew McCabe, who threatened the New York office of the FBI during the Clinton email investigation. Tracy was one of the first journalists to conduct an hour-long face-to-face interview with George and Simona Papadopoulos the day after his release from prison, and she's also known for her unbiased, in-depth coverage of the spying scandal surrounding the candidacy of President Donald Trump. Tracy, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're excited to talk to you. You seem to be able to get stories that other people miss or aren't able to get. And, of course, the top story these days is Jeffrey Epstein. So talk to us a little bit about your investigative journalism into the Jeffrey Epstein case.
Sure. Well, Jeffrey Epstein, has been a topic amongst many people for decades now. He's connected to a ton of high-profile, very well-connected political figures, entertainment figures, etc. And so the news of his arrest sort of shook the establishment, so to speak. And a lot of people just dug right in and started looking back into the past. And a lot of focus was put on his arrest in Palm Beach back years ago when former Labor Secretary Alex Acosta was the United States Attorney down there. And so we started looking into that plea deal really in earnest when the Miami Herald began reporting on it in their series. And they really did a fantastic job uncovering the corruption down in Palm Beach. And the charges just brought in the District of New York and the Southern District are kind of echoing that same vein and including some of the same crimes that he had committed down there.
Well, this is very interesting because now there's a black book. And he's naming names in this book, or at least this black book has come to the attention of the media. What do you know about the black book and the names that are in that book?
What's interesting about the black book is that one of the employees of Jeffrey Epstein several years ago attempted to sell that book. And he later passed on. He passed away. And there's been, releases of that in excerpts over the years of who's in there and what names are in there. It's a virtual who's who, really, of folks that, you know the names of most of them. And so there's not only the black book, but there's also been reporting to the effect that Jeffrey Epstein's attorneys are moving forward sort of their version of a deal, in that they're asking Jeffrey Epstein they're asking the U.S. attorneys if they will accept a lesser jail time in turn for kind of singing like a canary and bringing forth names of other people involved.
Now, some former presidents and a present president seem to be in that book. Talk to us a little bit about presidential involvement and really what does this book mean? I mean, if your name's listed in the book, what does it mean?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. When you're a wealthy person dealing with all those folks and you get a bunch of connections and things like that, it doesn't automatically mean just because your name's in a book or on a flight log that you're guilty of a crime. And I think it's important for everybody to keep that front and center. You can look at the frequency in which some people traveled on the plane. For instance, Bill Clinton traveled on Epstein's plane 26 times. And one of the misreported facts in the case is that he went down to Epstein Island. And in fact, the logs don't necessarily show that he took a trip to Epstein Island, just that he took trips overseas, etc. However, the manifests do show that there were young girls on the plane when Bill Clinton was on the plane. In terms of the Trump connection, which the mainstream media is attempting to really exemplify, NBC News came out with a story this morning that they were at a party together at Mar-a-Lago, partying with a bunch of women. However, Donald Trump, as per one of the attorneys for the victims down in Florida, was one of the only people that was called that didn't require a subpoena for him to come forward, spend a bunch of time, and basically explain what he knew. And there was a story that has since been sort of confirmed that Trump was responsible for kicking Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago membership after he apparently and allegedly performed some sort of lewd act with a youngster or attempted to. So there's a lot being misreported and underreported out there for sure.
Well, since this story resurfaced, we were wondering if it really did have to do with a push against Trump, just anything to make him look guilty of something. Do you think there's an underlying political agenda here?
You know, as soon as everybody heard the Southern District of New York, that's where everyone's minds went, because we've seen a lot of other lawsuits and investigations coming out of that district in Manhattan. As a matter of fact, they just ended one today with no charges into the Trump Organization for the Michael Cohen campaign finance violations. But the U.S. attorney in charge of the case is actually a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney who is a Republican. And we shouldn't really have to talk about somebody's politics in terms of law and order. It really bothers me when that's a necessity, but it is nowadays. I've not seen a political motive behind this from the investigators, and I'll wait before I pass judgment in that way.
So really the motivation is from the media then. Would you say that's a fair assessment, that they're covering this story precisely because Trump may be involved?
I think they're covering the story because it's major news, but as the media does nowadays, are trying to put a Trump spin on it. And what we found over and over again is that every time there's some sort of attempt to tie Trump to a crime, it just falls flat. The man does not, he's a law and order guy. He's not a criminal. However, propaganda is important. And so shaping the narrative is something the mainstream media tries to do lots of times now to no avail. And that's what they've been doing with this case. But I think as the facts roll out and the details of the case are more explored, we're going to learn likely the opposite. Jeffrey Epstein was a major donor to Democrat candidates and Democrat institutions, maybe 4-1 over Republican institutions and, candidates. Actually, as early as 2018, Epstein was donating to Democrats. So, I mean, you can look at the facts or you can look at the spin, whatever makes you feel better at night, I guess.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of those facts. You said he's already been donating to Democrats. 2018 is just last year. So talk about who he's donated to.
I was going to name her, and I'm just going to be honest, I can't remember. It's one of the squad. I can't remember. It's one of the squad. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Name the four of them. It's Omar, AOC. Who is the other one?
Tlaib.
Not Tlaib. There's one more.
Yeah, she's the one I don't know either.
I can't remember her name. She's in there.
I think that it's interesting that you just call them the squad. I think that's appropriate because they do seem to be a squadron of really interesting women, to say the least. So they're not going to be tied up in this just because they've taken money. I would think that would be them more damning, if you will, than being in the black book, that if you've taken money from Epstein.
Well, there's a lot of people that have done a lot of things with Jeffrey Epstein after he he signed the plea deal and admitted guilt the last time. And so, there needs to be more of a magnifying glass on that. Chuck Schumer has accepted several $1,000s from him. The Democratic National Committee has accepted thousands of dollars from him. Look at Open Secrets and you'll see it. So, it's one thing to point to somebody who cut off all contact once they learned of the type of person someone is, and it's another thing to continue to maintain contact with someone even after. It's almost the same thing as we see with Weinstein. People knew what was going on with Weinstein for years and maintained contact with him and hubbed him parties, and the Clintons were with him all the time. There was no doubt that this was known. We know that because of all the people that came forward once it was, quote, safe to do so. And that's one of the things that's really bothered me about this on a personal level, is that there have been reporters that have come out and said, I wrote a story about Jeffrey Epstein and they took out some of the victims that had come forward to me. If only I would have been able to get those in the story then, maybe we could have stopped this. But there's no talk of going to the FBI. There's no talk of going to the police. You know, it just kind of went away and everybody ignored it. And it was just an open secret, so to speak. Same thing with some of the folks that came out and made tweets immediately after his arrest saying, we're going to be, you know, we might see some of our faves wrapped up in this, guys. You know, if you know this, if you know that Jeffrey Epstein is doing things like this with young girls and you just let it go, what does that say about, I mean, the halls of power in this country? It's disgusting.
Well, if you ignore those kinds of things and you're a school teacher or in law enforcement or in counseling, you're held liable for not coming forward and reporting it as a crime. So you're exactly right. We've been talking with Tracy Beanz, who is with Uncover DC, and we've been talking about the Jeffrey Epstein case. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California. Rick, my co-host, that's him, and I, Sharron Angle, will be right back with our guest, Tracy Beanz.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Angle. And for rebroadcast, please check out our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. You'll find our radio show there, our TV show there, a lot of terrific articles, and a lot of great information. Our guest this segment is Tracy Beanz. She's an investigative journalist. That's the law start, I do believe. And she places a strong focus on politics while writing for Uncover DC. Tracy, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time.
Of course. I'm glad to be here.
Tracy, one of the things that I found interesting is, you talk about the politics of this story and how Democrats, they're poo-pooing this thing. It's not being covered in a lot of the mainstream media. But Google is scrubbing photos of Epstein with Clinton. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about the Google connection.
It's just another example of big tech being way too politically aligned and having way too much power and influence over the sorts of information that Americans are consuming or can see. And so, after the story broke, people were obviously doing a lot of searches because the Clinton-Epstein connection is not a new thing. It's been talked about for years. And now that he's arrested again, there's been a scrub. So if you go to Google and you type in Bill Clinton and Jeffrey, it won't autocomplete. Or if you type in Bill Clinton and, you'll get no suggestion. Similarly, if you try to search for a photo of the two of them together, of which there are plenty available or were, you won't get any results. Or what we found popping up, as a matter of fact, in real time, on another interview I was doing the other day, a photo of Trump and Epstein popped up while somebody was searching for Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein. They're trying to control the information that Americans see to continue to try to control the narrative. And hopefully, or on their part, they hope it'll equate into a votes. It's not working anymore. It's just not. The internet's forever. There are archive sites available. People have taken print screens of things. It's just... they can try as much as they can to control that and to stifle the flow of truth, but it always bubbles to the top. It always happens. Project Veritas has been doing some great work from, some leaks they've been getting out of Google, and it's something that we need to pay more attention to. It needs to be taken more seriously. Otherwise, they can just erase history, and what are we going to do about it? I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah, it is. Tracy, could you talk about these charges against Jeffrey Epstein, whoever you say tomato, I say tomato, but these charges and the charges that he was convicted on in the past, are they different? Are they the same? How do they compare?
They are different, and that's one of the things that really bothered people, is that the Palm Beach case that he pled guilty to was just prostitution, and up here. It was they called it prostitution, but he did have to register as a sex offender. Here, we've got human trafficking and acts with a minor. So it's much different. It's much more serious. His attorneys are trying to make the case that this is like a double jeopardy, or they're trying to charge him with the same crime again. And the U.S. attorneys here in New York are doing their best to kind of differentiate between the two, saying... There's been a lot of detail coming out in these bail hearings. They found a sack of diamonds in his safe with a passport with his photo, a different name. Yeah, it's just like a Tom Clancy novel. The interesting thing about that little tidbit is that it's been uncovered through some intrepid researchers that Jeffrey Epstein was actually a source in the Mueller FBI. They were using him as a confidential informant.
Jeffrey Epstein was?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and watching your video that was on Uncovered DC, you talked about how he was treated, how Jeffrey was treated as a prisoner. Could you talk about that? I found that fascinating.
Absolutely. Acosta has even said he expected for Epstein to remain in jail throughout his tenure. But for some reason, the police department there gave him a work release. It allowed him to leave jail every day for 13 hours, go to an office, stay there all day with a private security force. In the beginning, they were calling him inmate. And by the end, they were calling him a client. That's legit. It sounds like it should be fun. I mean, it's just the truth. It's really, really crazy. And some of the people down there said he had the entire police force under his thumb. So it was not a jail sentence. It was a vacation, basically, where he went to sleep in a horrible cell, but the rest of the day was business as usual. We can hope he doesn't get bail. The R. Kelly case coming out of Chicago, the judge just denied R. Kelly bail and bond on similar charges, right?
Right.
I don't think that bodes very well for Jeffrey Epstein in New York to obtain the conditions he wants for release, which are the victims were there at the last hearing. The decision's coming tomorrow. The victims were there saying, please.
that was another area that I wanted to go with you that I haven't heard a lot about. Could you talk about Jeffrey's victims?
There are now there were over 100 down in Palm Beach. Yeah, it's disturbing. And up here, we've got the U.S. attorney saying there are people coming forward every day, and this case is expanding wider than they could even imagine. One of the complaints about Palm Beach was that they stopped talking to victims after 100 at the behest of the AG in Florida. And that's one of the reasons the FBI got involved at all, because the police and the detective that were doing the investigation were like, wait a second, something's not right here. They were actually leaking information to the defense team from inside of their investigation. This is something that I don't think a lot of people realize, how corrupt it was down there, the intimidation that was going on. And some of the victims up here say, we're really scared if you let him out, what's going to happen to us? Because they're in their 30s now, but they were victims back then. And, you never get over that. There's danger here. There's been intimidation. There's been running people off the road. There's been threats.
Well, Trace, I wanted to talk with you about something. I have a habit of sometimes thinking too far outside the box, or I've been accused on that. The little black book that you mentioned, that the guy who tried to sell the little black book passed on.
Yeah.
I mean, that means like he's died. All right. And whenever we talk about anybody who passed on or died that had any kind of a connection to the Clintons, there's a lot of conspiracy theories and things. Was this person, did he pass on or die? Let's call it what it is. He died. Were there any unusual circumstances involved in that?
I'm not going to comment on that because I'm not positive, but I will tell you another interesting fact if we want to go down that lane a little bit. A few months after the Miami Herald piece came out, the detective on the case, who was 50 years old, suddenly got ill and died as well.
I'm telling you, it's a real hazard to be anywhere near the Clintons. Tracy Beanz, let's talk about Alex Acosta.
Yeah.
He has resigned now, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Is he implicated in or with Jeffrey in any other way other than he prosecuted the case in Florida? And anything else you could tell us about his connection to all of this?
So there's no connection between Acosta and Epstein. There was a lot of murmuring and rumors that there was a lot of pressure from upper levels in the Justice Department on this case and what he was to do and what he wasn't to do. And in his press conference he gave right before he resigned, he said that, I'm not going to be able to answer these questions because, I can't talk about prior investigations, etc. But I will say it disturbs me in a way, because while it was a horrible deal and it really should have been a trial and he should have been convicted and it should have been different. Mm-hmm. In his confirmation hearings, they talked about this case and what happened, and they confirmed him. So to come back now after the fact, when he's arrested in a different state or on a federal charges, and say, because this was a state case in Palm Beach. This plea deal came from the state, not federally. Okay, he was just involved in engineering it. So to come back and force this man to resign for something you knew already and let him, confirmed him over when he's doing a good job in terms of being the labor secretary, it reeks of this hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm. Tracy Beanz, we want to thank you for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work and read what you write.
Thanks so much, guys. You guys can find me at uncoverdc.com or on Twitter at Tracy Beanz with a Z.
All right, Tracy, I'll follow you. You follow me, and hopefully you'll come back on our show. It's great to connect with you.
Likewise. Thank you, guys.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle. Yes, that's Sharron Angle. And yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to have one of our longtime friends of this show, Elad Hakim, join us. Elad is a writer and an attorney, and he's going to discuss Pelosi's advice regarding ICE warrants was inappropriate and unbecoming of someone of her stature. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Sharron, our next guest is with us, is a longtime friend of the show. Please welcome him back.
Well, it's always an honor and a pleasure to introduce Elad Hakim, who is a political writer, commentator, and attorney. His articles have been published in the Washington Examiner, the Daily Caller, the Federalist, the Allgemeiner, the Western Journal, American Thinker, and other online publications. Elad Hakim, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Here I'm sounding like your friend from high school calling you by your last name.
That's okay. It's not a problem. Whatever's easiest for you.
You wrote an article, Elad. Pelosi's advice regarding ICE warrants was inappropriate, unbecoming of her position. I heard her advice. I was stunned. Talk to us a little bit about that advice before we go on into the whole of the matter.
Well, I thought it was inappropriate for the Speaker of the House to basically speak to the American people, and primarily to those who are going to be subjected to the ICE raids, and to basically advise them as to how to avoid ICE agents who were coming to coming in different cities to arrest people who were here improperly or illegally. And I thought that it was unbecoming of the Speaker of the House and that it was inappropriate. I just can't imagine or understand how somebody could give advice as to how to circumvent or get around our laws. And this is not a situation where ICE agents were coming and committing illegal acts. They weren't coming down, and they have the legal authority to do this under the warrants. And Pelosi's comments, I thought, were just absolutely inappropriate.
Well, it was stunning to me when I saw it printed up that she's saying, don't open your door, and it's not the same as a search warrant. You don't have to talk to these guys. It was amazing to me because really being in this country illegally is still a crime. So doesn't that make her an accessory to a crime?
Well, I wouldn't call her accessory. I wouldn't say that because she's not facilitating any sort of criminal behavior. She was just commenting, and by the way, the advice that she was giving was in essence correct from a legal standpoint. In other words, it's not the same as a search warrant. A search warrant gives the police the right to go into the house and to arrest them, but that's signed by a judge. In this case, the ICE warrants, they're not signed by a judge, and they're limited. They authorize ICE agents to arrest these people, but only where they don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy. So I wouldn't say accessory, no. I'd say that it was tasteless, and it was, I guess the word unbecoming was used intentionally. I can't imagine how a member of Congress, let alone the Speaker, who's second in line after Pence to take over the presidency, would do that.
Well, and you being an attorney, you would know what's legal and what's not legal for someone to do. But it just was so, as you said, while Pelosi is technically correct, it just seems like it just ties the hands of law enforcement even more. But won't this just make ICE guys go to get a warrant, go to a judge and say we need to be able to have this door open to us? Yeah,
they can, or they can just wait them out. I mean, it would be a waiting game. I mean, either these people sit in the house all day long. See, ICE agents have the authority to arrest them. They just can't go into the house without the warrant. So they can wait them out. And I actually don't know how things went this past Sunday when agents went ahead and were set to kind of go through, I think they were saying 10 different cities throughout the country. But, yeah, I mean, the easiest way would be to get a warrant, but then you have to apply for the warrant and show that you have reason, to get the warrant. So it's a little bit different.
Okay, so here you said, and I thought this was a good quote, that Pelosi's advice wasn't given for the betterment of the nation. Now, in her oath of office, is she supposed to help this country? I mean, is that part of her oath, or she hasn't done anything, as you say, technically wrong?
I don't think she's done anything technically illegal, and I would never say that she's done anything illegal because the information that she gave out was technically correct. And look, Democrats they don't think that the people who are here illegally are necessarily doing anything wrong. I think they've made that clear. I think that they've made it clear that they want people who are here illegally to have every right to be here. They've advocated that they should be able to vote. So they don't see it as anything wrong. They see Trump's policy of seeking to take them and to allegedly break up families and to remove them from the country as being wrong and illegal. So it's a completely different mindset. They're approaching things from a different perspective. And that's why I made that comment that it's not, I don't think that what she did, didn't give this advice to better the nation, so to speak. She gave the advice because Democrats, along with in Pelosi herself, advocate for the rights of illegal immigrants who they feel should have the right to stay here.
Well, and you even said that you felt that she put the interests of those who are in the country illegally above those in the nation as a whole. Talk in more depth about that.
Well, I think that if you think about it, you have people here who are here illegally, and sadly, you have a lot of crime. A lot of the crime that's committed, whether it's by way of gangs or whatever it is, a lot of it is committed by people who are here illegally, unfortunately. And when you start giving advice to help people who are in the country improperly or illegally, and which could potentially harm the country or harm the citizens of the country, I think you're doing a disservice to the country. So you're putting the interests of these people who are not here legally above the interests of all of those who are here legally and who are following our laws. And that doesn't seem right.
It doesn't seem right. Here in Nevada, we have a population of almost 20% Hispanic, and they won't tell us exactly what percent of that percentage is illegal. We don't know. But we've had an occasion to witness ICE intervention in these people's lives, and they don't usually go to their homes. They usually go to the place where they work. I can remember them doing a raid at McDonald's, and then, of course, the owner of McDonald's got a hefty fine for employing them. So it seems like even though she's giving advice to people about not opening their homes, that's not exactly how ICE works anyway.
That's they probably are doing that partially because at their workplace, the expectation of privacy is obviously a lot lower than it is at a home. Mm-hmm. And ICE agents are aware of that. But that's amazing. I've never actually seen an ICE raid, but it's amazing that you have and that you've seen it.
Well, we've just, like I said, we've just witnessed it at work sites, construction sites. They will go and cast a big net across a place where they suspect there are a lot of people that are undocumented here illegally, and they catch them, and it's a pretty easy thing. And in the same vein, then they are able to also bring some punishment to bear on the employer. And of course, it's not very good for their public image when all of that goes in the paper. So,
right. Absolutely.
So it seems to me that, going to somebody's private residence is probably their last ditch as far as going for deportations. There's lots easier ways, I guess, of confronting the issue. So it is almost a straw man for me for her to come out. It's almost like pandering. Here she is telling them, you don't have to open your doors, but she must know, being from California, or maybe she doesn't. I mean, I think about the echo chamber that most of these Democrats live in, and maybe they don't understand what the real world is like. They haven't been down on the border. They don't really do enough interacting with our law enforcement officials to know how they act. Or maybe it's just, as I say, she's just pandering to the leftists by saying, well, here we'll make them think we're their friends. What do you think about that?
I think that people underestimate Pelosi. I think that she's sharper than people give her credit for. She's not new to this game, and she's in a really, really difficult position. I mean, think about her position for a minute. If you're a Democrat, you are in the middle of these progressives and then whatever's left of moderate Democrats, which there really isn't anymore. And this, we haven't talked about it, but there's a lot of infighting between Democrats now. Pelosi and Ocasio-Cortez, there's a lot of infighting going on, and although we haven't really talked about the recent tweets that Trump made, this is they've got problems, and Pelosi's in a difficult position trying to balance, the progressives and the rest of the party. So very, very difficult. But the same thing, by the way, is happening happened with the whole impeachment thing. Some of them were calling for impeachment, but Pelosi knew that it would be a risk for her party if they pursued impeachment too soon. So she's sharper than people give her credit for. At least that's my opinion on it.
So this could be a strategy, is what you're saying. We've been talking with Elad Hakim about Pelosi's regarding her advice regarding the ICE warrants, that she gives advice to illegal aliens, don't open your doors. We'll be right back after this message with our co-host, Rick Trader. I'm Sharron Engel, our guest, Elad Hakim, and we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Department, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveda. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect.
How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right to vote. It's
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who are listening to our show on stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, and now in Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Our guest this segment is Elad Hakim. He's a political writer, commentator, and attorney. Try to get two words, take two words, cross them together, make a new one. But he's a commentator and attorney, and he's written a great article. Pelosi's advice regarding ICE warrants was inappropriate, unbecoming of her position. Elad, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Elad, I hope America is watching. I hope America is listening, not just to this show, but to what is going on with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat and the leftists that are trying to take over our country. It's showing America that these people do not have our backs. They're not representing the people, the citizens, but they're more representing people that have broken laws and have come here illegally. Elad, have you ever made an illegal entry into the United States?
I haven't, actually.
Have you ever been accused of making an illegal entry into the United States?
Nope, I have not.
I have. Flying back to the United States from Canada in a private airplane, I filed what is called an AVCUS flight plan, meaning advised customs. Well, that flight plan got sent to the wrong airport. So when I landed in Sweetgrass, Montana, by the way, which is a runway that's right on the U.S.-Canadian border, I saw the van, the white van. I figured, well, they know I'm coming, and they're here to greet me. Well, yes, they were. When I pulled off beside their van and shut off my airplane, they come over to me. They said, "Who are you? You've now made an illegal entry into the United States. You are subject to a $10,000 fine and 5 years in jail." Elad, you're an attorney. Doesn't that sound like the same type of a penalty that would be associated with many felonies?
I can't. I'm an attorney, but I can't speak to that because I'm not a criminal attorney. So
okay.
I suspect, I don't want to give.
Sure.
I don't want to give the wrong information.
Well, what I'm getting at is these people like Nancy Pelosi and these mayors and governors of these sanctuary cities are actually aiding and abetting people that have broken our laws. And that I hope America, as I said, I hope America is watching and listening, as I said, to show that these people on the left are not representing the America and Americans and citizens. Am I taking this too far, Elad Hakim?
No, I don't think so. I think that based on just their overall and general approach to the whole immigration issue and the fact how much they fought the president tooth and nail on just about every issue, I don't think that's a stretch. I think that they are giving so much more leeway and putting so much more effort to protect those who are here illegally than they are to protecting the country and to, protecting the laws that make us who we are as a country. So I don't think you're wrong.
Well, let me ask you this, and again, I'll call on your expertise as an attorney, and if this doesn't fall in your field, just tell me. Let's say that one of these illegals committed a crime. And let's say this illegal was on some kind of a pickup list from ICE or Homeland Security. And let's say this individual goes to trial and say, well, I was only following the advice of Nancy Pelosi. Now, let's say this perpetrator committed a crime on somebody, killed, raped, robbed them, doesn't couldn't that make Nancy Pelosi civilly liable? That she gave instructions to somebody who went out and committed a crime, and that person then used Nancy Pelosi's advice in their defense?
I think that would probably be a stretch. Again,
I do that sometimes.
Yeah, I think that would be a stretch. I mean, I don't think that what Nancy Pelosi said was. I don't think it was wrong as far as the content of what she said. What she said was right. If they, ICE agents can't come in and arrest you if you're in your house, then you have they need a search warrant. So if she said that and then somebody went and committed a crime, I don't think that she'd be an accessory or complicit. I don't think there's anything wrong with what she said. I just thought that it was unbecoming of her position to say it.
Well, what about other members of the House? In your article, you are quoting House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, and he said, "Tell me one thing that this majority has done in the amount of time that the Speaker called the President and asked for a delay." Where is the other side? Where's the loyal opposition? Where's the Republican Party? Why haven't we heard? I know I can't ask you this question. It's asking you to answer a question that's unanswerable. But are you surprised that the Republican Party, the Republican members of the House and Senate, hasn't done a dance on this?
Well, their hands are kind of tied. I mean, look, first you have some of the Republicans that are kind of Republican in name only. But in essence, their hands are sort of tied because the Democrats control the House, and as far as coming up with something together in a bipartisan way, they can't. They haven't been able to do anything because Democrats are not willing to put any money or put any sort of effort into securing the border. Mm-hmm. And, for example, Democrats had every right, for example, to hire more judges, to take different steps that would also minimize, remember, for example, they were complaining about the way the children were being treated in the detention facilities.
Right.
So Trump offered, A, B, and C. He wanted more beds. He wanted more ICE agents. He wanted judges. Democrats, a lot of times, many Democrats rejected all of those things. So when you're asking me, am I surprised that Republicans haven't done anything? I'm telling you, my response is, I'm not sure what they can do because it takes two to tango here. Mm-hmm. If Republicans control the House and the Senate,
they can speak out about Nancy Pelosi. They can point out to the American people, look what these people are saying. Nancy Pelosi is aiding these people. Nancy Pelosi is telling these people how to avoid the law, how to break the law. That's one thing they could do.
Yeah, well, I think a few have, I think a few have, but welcome to the world of politics. In politics, on the one hand, you watch your own butt, and on the other hand, you say what the people want to hear. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't intertwine.
Right. Well, speaking of the world of politics, you and Sharron kind of touched on this, that Nancy Pelosi is in a difficult position with people like AOC and what do they call themselves now, the squad? That in fact, Rick Manning, who's one of our co-hosts here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, has predicted the squad and the AOCs are actually going to take over the Democrat Party, and Nancy Pelosi is going to find herself out of a job because the squad, AOC, has been attracting big bucks in their support. What's your thoughts? Do you think that Nancy's in trouble?
I don't know, because I think that she still has the support of a lot of people in her own party as far as Congress is concerned. And if you're telling me that a lot of Americans are beginning to support AOC and her policies, that's frightening.
That is frightening.
So, so I wouldn't say she's in trouble yet. I'd say that, and I do agree in a sense with some people have said about the recent tweet that Trump made, that he put Democrats in a bind, because now the Democrats who have come to protect and defend AOC and the other three from Trump's recent tweets are now deemed to have aligned with them. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the bigger problem for them, that, some people are saying Trump's tweet was kind of intended to bring them all together to align with the progressives. Mm-hmm. And that could be a problem for them, because I really can't see how, come 2020, any progressive candidate can win. I just don't think, I just don't know, and I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but are they going to have the votes? Are the moderate and independent Democrats going to vote for socialism?
Well, again, I agree with you there, and I also think that let America see what these people are. Let America see who these people are really trying to represent. Elad, Hakim, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience where they can read your articles, follow your work.
They can find me at Thoughtfully Conservative on Facebook and at Thoughtful GOP on Twitter. And interestingly, something we should talk about next time is the impeachment, articles of impeachment that the congressman or representative from Texas just filed today, and I think they're voting on it.
Interesting.
So you should take a peek at that. I just wrote a piece on it, and I'll send it your way when it's all done. But yeah, that's happening now.
Very interesting. We'll be sure to check that out. Elad, Hakim, thank you so much for joining us. Take care.
My pleasure,
and God
guys.
bless.
Thank you.
All right. And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be back with more right after this break.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Well, Sharron, that just about wraps it up for today. I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host. Please tell our audience how they keep track of what you're doing when you're not here.
They can go to my website, SharonAngle.com, SharonAngle.com. And Rick, I want to thank our guests for being with us. We're scheduled to have Major General Mari Eder, U.S. Army retired, to talk about the census, veterans, and value of citizenship. But unfortunately, she was unable to join us today. But we want to thank her very much for writing such a great article and giving us an opportunity to really talk about an issue that's important to us. Our second guest, we want to thank, is Tracy Beanz. She's an investigative journalist who has done a podcast or a video that everyone should go. If they want the real scoop on Jeffrey Epstein, she's got it. And then finally, we want to thank our good friend, Elad Hakim, for talking about Pelosi and her inappropriate advice to illegal immigrants on how to evade ICE agents. So we had a packed show, and I'm very grateful to our guests.
All right. And again, I want to thank you, Sharron. But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.